Hello everybody and welcome back. Today we're talking about the new games on PSVR2 in February of 2025. Now, the start of the year is usually pretty low-key in terms of VR. Things ramp up a little bit as we get towards like April, March, May, and then die down a bit for the summer, and then really ramp up towards the end of the year. That's usually the cycle that we see. January, though, is a bit of an outlier because we did get Arcanage, which was quite a big title in my opinion. I really enjoyed that one. A lot of people have picked it up. But February is looking a little bit slower. It depends on what releases are coming when, as some are still undetermined, but there are some things you should be looking out for this month anyway. Before we get into it, two things. First, please feel free to like and subscribe, and thank you to our patrons and YouTube members for making this possible. And also, as always, VR Rock, the sponsors of today's games list. They're makers of VR prescription lenses, and I absolutely love them. I use them on my PSVR2. They have both magnetic and non-magnetic options, anti-blue light and anti-glare options, and are customized to your exact prescription, or if you have no prescription and just want protection for your lenses, which is what I have them for, you can go ahead and do that too. The link is in the description below, and thank you to VR Rock for being the paid partner of today's video. Okay, first and foremost, Exocars is expecting a release hopefully soon. To be honest, if I had to guess, it'd be February or March. This has been going through the ringer in Sony QA from what I hear, and apparently there was some sort of test on the 25th of January to see if it passed another QA pass, basically. I have no news on whether it's made it through that or not. I hope it has, and if it has, we probably will see a February release. They're literally just waiting to push the button on that and get that off-road racing game to us. It does have multiplayer elements and single-player elements and wheel support, so I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on it. But, of course, as all things Sony QA, it could be delayed another month or so, but I'm hoping we see that in February. The same can be said for I Am Cat, the game that kind of took off on Quest, which lets you simply embody a cat. You commence all the anarchy that a cat would in the home and other environments. There's a fair bit of content to play around with this one, but it's not the deepest of VR games. But again, it has sold a lot on Quest, so I imagine it will do quite well with the younger audience on PSVR2, and probably make for some pretty good YouTube Shorts clips for some creators, I imagine. There's no concrete release date on this one though, but I think it is still pinned for February, so we'll have to see. A couple more things we're waiting on is, of course, Aces of Thunder. We've got no idea when this is actually coming out, but every month I have to kind of put a warning out there to say it could just be stealth dropped at any point. I imagine there'll probably be maybe a couple of weeks to a month of notice for us before the game drops at least, but it is possible it could just come out at some point once they get the game kind of polished up and done, because I believe they said it had gone gold a little while ago, or it was very near completion, so it could be any day now. I don't want to put too much stock in this one though, because Aces of Thunder is one that's been floating around for a very long time, but we do know it exists and it is coming at some point, so could be February. Another one that should be coming at some point, and I'd say look out for it sooner rather than later, is the Ancient Dungeon multiplayer update. This has been on Quest in beta for about a year now, and I think has actually gone live on PSVR and Quest a little while ago, and is coming to PSVR2 at some point, hopefully, maybe, fairly soon. Keep an eye out. The release date may have already been announced by now. I have no idea what I'm allowed to say or not at the time of recording, so take that as you will. Ancient Dungeon is the roguelike where you jump into a cave and basically take down layers of the dungeon, defeating enemies, upgrading your stuff, and the multiplayer update adds 4-player co-op to the game where you can explore with friends and watch them all die in horrendous ways. If I had to describe it, it's a bit like Legendary Tales meets Minecraft in the sort of gameplay and exploration that you're doing, but this is a bit more procedurally generated, where you're doing run after run in the traditional roguelike manner. As I said though, keep an eye out for the multiplayer update at some point, hopefully soon. A PSVR2 game that's not dropping in February, but we will get the impressions of, as it was delayed out of January on other platforms, is Cold VR. So the impressions on other platforms will be coming on February 11th. The demo was received very well, and hopefully the full game will be as well, and we'll see whether it will be or not on the 11th or probably sooner, due to game embargoes usually being a day or two before. But Cold VR is a super hot like game, I think made either by a solo dev or very small dev team, with that frenetic but thoughtful action that people loved Superhot 4. And of course, visually, it's very inspired by that, so hopefully the PSVR2 port isn't too far behind. Lastly, the Obsessive Shadow should be coming at some point in February. This is a PSVR2 game that apparently is also enabled for PSVR1, which is kinda mad. But you take on the role of Liam, a 9-year-old boy left alone in his home after the power suddenly goes out, plunging the house into suffocating darkness. Armed with only a flashlight, you must navigate the unsettling dangers of the night as you are being watched throughout the night. Your mother's voice on the phone is the only guide to surviving, but as her instructions grow more confusing and the unease deepens, the safety of her words begins to feel increasingly fragile. Something is watching, a shadowy figure moving just out of sight, waiting for you to slip up. The house becomes a labyrinth of fear, with each corner hiding the possibility of confrontation with the lurking entity. Now, I think the trailer you're seeing on screen right now, which is on the Sony YouTube channel, is a bit out of date. I believe some of the animations have been refined and reworked to make them a lot more scary. I'm expecting still like an indie affair here, but hopefully with some good scares. If I had to kind of gauge this in quality, I'd put it maybe similar to the Twilight Zone VR in terms of, say, budget or scale, but we'll have to wait and see. It could genuinely be scary, and I believe this is also a solo dev doing this. So there we have it, a little bit of a slower month for us in February. Of course, things can always be announced whenever, and March is going to pick up the slack pretty well, I think, as the VR Game Showcase has been announced to return in March, and we also have Hitman coming, which is going to be a massive game. Again, anyone from IO Interactive, I would love to get hands on that game early, because I am away when it comes out, and I really do want to get some content out on the channel, even if it is just a couple of gameplay videos for launch. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you to VR Rock for being the paid partner of today's video, and I hope to see you all in the next one.